Disclaimer: the information contained in this channel is for general information purposes only. The news content is provided by MPI-NEWS and its content provider partners, and while we endeavor to keep the information up to date and correct, we make no representations or warranties of any kind, express or implied, about the completeness, accuracy, reliability, suitability or availability with respect to the website or the information. Metro Pacific rises amid talk of foreign investors' entry. Metro Pacific Investments Corp. MPI-C was among the most active stocks last week as investors reacted to speculations about the company agreeing to sell a substantial stake to a foreign investor. Data from the Philippine Stock Exchange (PSE) showed a total of 224.07 million MPI-C shares worth $869.69 million were traded from January 9 to 13, making it the 14th most actively traded stock last week. Shares in the Manuel V Pangilinan-led company closed higher by 12.5% week-on-week to P3.95 apiece on Friday from its P3.51 finish on January 6. The stock has gone up 15.5% since the start of the year. Price action of MPI last week was largely driven by speculation that a foreign investor will acquire a significant stake, up to 20%, in MPI, as well as the possibility of MPI delisting its shares, said Rastine Maki de Mercado, China Bank Securities Corp. Research Director, in an email, referring to the firm's stock symbol. Given these developments, MPI disclosed a clarification last week saying that 1. Various options to enhance company and shareholder value are being discussed, and 2. A possible delisting of its shares is among options considered, said Mr. Mercado. MPI also said that no final decision has been made, he added. Last week, MPI-C shares rose by as high as 5% in early trade to reach their highest in nearly 14 months. The rally happened after speculation of a foreign investor's potential entry and a supposed plan to become a private firm. On Thursday, MPI-C issued a clarification to the stock exchange that it receives a lot of interest from investors. We consider all offers for the benefit of the company and its shareholders. However, it said that it had not entered into any definitive agreement for an acquisition by any party of a substantial interest, and neither is it aware of any definitive agreement entered into by its principal shareholders. On Friday, it also clarified speculations about plans to go private. MPI-C discusses several options available to it for the benefit of the company and its stakeholders, and among the options considered is the delisting of MPI-C's shares. While delisting as an option is being discussed, no final decision has been made, it said. Diversified Securities, Inc. Equity trader Aniceto K. Pangan said in a text message that MPI-C became active mainly due to the possible entry of Japanese investors Mitsui & Company. The stock price appreciated from a closing price of 3.51 per share last January 6 to an intra-high of 4.08 per share, or more than 16% in value, added Mr. Pangan. China Bank Securities Mr. Mercado said the potential acquisition of a substantial stake in MPI-C by an outside investor may suggest that the stock is undervalued at prevailing market prices. However, we think any potential deal might still be at its early stages, as MPI-C noted that no definitive agreements have been finalized thus far, he said, adding that the firm's 12.5% week-on-week rally indicates that the market perceived recent developments as positive for the company and its shareholders. MPI-C's top line rose by 16.9% to P37.61 billion during the 9 months to September last year. Likewise, its attributable net income increased by 4.2% to P16.4 billion. Mr. Pangan said the revenue forecast should be around P60 billion, or up by double digits, with the increase in economic activity due to ease in restrictions together with the lowering of fuel prices. For next week, Mr. Pengen expects MPIC to be on consolidation, with major support at P3.79 and resistance at P4.00 per share until the entry of the foreign investor materializes. Mr. Mercado pegged major support and resistance levels at P3.65 and P4.18 per share, respectively. General market sentiment has turned upbeat given prospects of the U.S. Federal Reserve scaling down its pace of rate hikes, market-implied rate hike of 25 basis points at next policy meeting, as inflationary pressures continue to show signs of easing, added Mr. Mercado. We expect this to bode well for MPI's stock price as well moving forward. However, volatility is likely to remain elevated as investors await further developments on the company. MPIC, which has interests in power, water, hospitals, and toll roads, is one of 3 Philippine units of Hong Kong-based First Pacific Company Limited, the others being PLDT Inc. and Philex Mining Corp. Hastings Holdings, Inc., a unit of PLDT Beneficial Trust Fund subsidiary MediaQuest Holdings, Inc., maintains an interest in Businessworld through the Philippine Star Group, which it controls. Lords O. Pilar. Nickel News. Nickel Asia is giving its renewable energy subsidiary a funding boost by subscribing to additional common shares. Nickel Asia is giving its renewable energy subsidiary a funding boost by subscribing to additional common shares. In a regulatory filing, Nickel Asia said its board approved the company's additional investment of P2.92 billion in Emerging Power Inc. EPI. The fresh funding will raise Nickel Asia's equity ownership in EPI to 95.8%. EPI will utilize the funding for its operations and for operating expenses of affiliate Balearan Geothermal and subsidiary Mindoro Geothermal Power Corp. The additional investment will also support EPI's investments in the projects of its other subsidiaries, including its joint venture with Shell Overseas Investments BV called Greenlight Renewables Holdings Inc. Greenlight will work on the pre-development phase of potential renewable energy projects, including applications for service contracts with the Department of Energy and related permits and licenses from the Energy Regulatory Commission and other affiliated agencies. RCBC News. Yuchenko-led RCBC told to enter into mediation with Bangladesh Bank. The Supreme Court of the State of New York has directed the Yuchenko family's banking arm Rizal Commercial Banking Corp. and Bangladesh's central bank to enter into mediation to settle their differences. In a disclosure to the stock exchange, RCBC said it received the New York court's decision, denying the bank's motion to dismiss the case filed by Bangladesh Bank over a hacking incident that led to diversion of funds. Without ruling on the merits, the court confirmed its jurisdiction over RCBC and the individual defendants. It also exercised its discretion to find that New York is a convenient forum to try the case, RCBC said. Bangladesh Bank filed a complaint to seek compensation for the $81 million it allegedly lost to hackers. The Yuchenko-led bank, however, pointed out that the decision of the Supreme Court of New York merely resolved the jurisdictional issues and is not in any way finding of liability on the part of RCBC or any of the individual defendants. RCBC said, the parties have been directed to mediate the dispute. AYALA News. AYALA land pours in P1.2B in QC, Caloocan projects. AYALA Land Inc. ALI spent P1.161 billion for expansion and land banking in the fourth quarter of 2022. ALI funneled P849 million into ongoing estate development project in Quezon City with Eden property of ultra-billionario Lucio Tan. It also invested to buy land in Caloocan P157 million, and Quezon City P155 million. The funds came from the remaining balance of the P3.7 billion ALI raised from the sale of 87.37 million AREIT shares in April this year. JFC News. Jollibee unit wins P18.5M tax refund case as CTA junks BIR's appeal. The Court of Tax Appeals (CTA) has denied an appeal from the Bureau of International Revenue (BIR), which sought the reversal of a decision that awarded Jollibee Worldwide Private Limited (JWPL) P18.5 million as refund for erroneous tax collection. The petition for review is denied. The CTA 3rd Division correctly denied BIR's motion for reconsideration for being filed beyond the reglementary period, said the ruling penned by Associate Justice Catherine Manahan. Even if we brush aside the procedural lapse in the motion for reconsideration before the CTA 3rd Division, the subject petition for review is still denied. We affirm the findings of the CTA 3rd Division that the formal letter of demand, final assessment notices were issued in violation of respondent Jollibee's right to due process, the order added. The warrant of distraint and/or levy issued on March 18, 2015 has been declared null and void by the CTA. According to the CTA's 3rd Division, the amount of P18.5 million was illegally assessed and erroneously collected income tax, withholding tax on compensation and expanded withholding tax for 2009. JWPL is a wholly owned subsidiary of homegrown fast food giant Jollibee Foods Corp. Of the Tan Kakshing family. It is licensed to operate as a regional operating headquarters in the Philippines. PLDT News Content Filtering. PLDT Group skims off 5.5M domains. PLDT Group, through its Cybersecurity Operations Group, CSOG, has blacklisted 5.5 million domains being used in phishing, spam, and hoax activities as part of its intensified anti-cybercrime efforts. The blacklisting resulted in the group blocking more than 17 billion attempts to open malicious domains by the end of 2022. CSOG's close watch also fended off 182 million cyber attacks and data breach incidents. PLDT and Smart's threat intelligence sources has enabled CSOG to amass 123 million indicators of compromise in its database that it also uses for cyber attack correlation. Smart, on its end, prevented 433 million smishing messages from reaching customers. These messages often come with links to phishing sites that harvest customers' personal data. Smart has likewise blocked more than 400,000 mobile numbers involved in the illegal activities. PLDT and Smart cyber warriors are working 24/7 in blocking scams and fraudulent messages, as well as mobile accounts being used in criminal activities, PLDT and Smart First Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer Angel Redobel said. Redobel said the recently implemented SIM card registration law would help curb fraud and cybercrime as it will make it harder for criminals to buy SIMs anonymously. To ramp up efforts to register all its subscribers, Smart has set up registration booths and touchpoints across the country. Nearly 8 million subscribers of its prepaid, postpaid and corporate services have registered their SIMs as of the second week of January. Robinson BPI News. Robinson's Retail completes nearly P20B BPI buy-in. Gokongwei-led Robinson's Retail Holdings Inc. completed the purchase of Bank of the Philippine Islands (BPI) shares worth nearly P20 billion, giving it a sizable stake in the county's third-largest lender. Robinson's Retail said it acquired 4.4% of the AYALA Group's banking unit from Aron Investment Private Limited, an affiliate of Singaporean state fund GIC Private Limited. Aron holds a stake in BPI through convertible preferred shares. Robinson's Retail, which operates supermarkets and specialty stores, said the deal was equivalent to 198.26 million BPI shares worth P99.5 per share, or a total of P19.7 billion. Robinsons Retail will be able to tap into the extensive consumer customer base of BPI to cross-sell products and services, while in turn giving Robinsons Retail suppliers and service providers the capability to tap into BPI's vast financial products to help fund their working capital requirements as they expand their business, which should translate to better service levels, the company said on Monday. Robinsons Retail and Gokongwei-led conglomerate JG Summit Holdings Inc. are also in the midst of completing the P27 billion sale and merger of Robinsons Bank with BPI, which will give them a combined 6% stake in BPI. Once the merger is completed, JG Summit will own 3.6% of BPI, while Robinson Retail will own 2.4%. With the additional Aaron shares, Robinsons Retail will own 6.5%, not the 6.8% that was earlier reported by the Inquirer due to the dilution of shareholders as a result of the merger. The Gokongwei family will end up with over 10% of BPI, making it the bank's second biggest stockholder after the controlling Zobel family. On the financial aspect, Robinsons Retail will receive a steady stream of dividends from one of the largest and most profitable banks in the country versus the continuing need to finance Robinsons Bank's growth, Robinsons Retail said on Monday. BPI's profits jumped in the first 9 months of the year amid the robust growth of its core business segments. Its net income from January to September surged over 74% to P30.5 billion. Partly due to the sale of property, tax adjustments and foreign exchange gains. But even without these non-recurring gains, profits were up 53% to P26.8 billion. BPI's total assets also rose 11.8% to P2.5 trillion, while total equity stood at P313.4 billion.